My first home buying experience was not exactly like what we thought it was going to be. We ended up with a house I didn't really want and a very long, drawn out process that I didn't understand. So I really wish that I had taken the time ahead of time to understand what was it going to look like to get pre-approved for a mortgage. What does a mortgage even do? How do I buy a house? What's the process? What is an appraisal? All these things we're going to talk about today in our seminar. So first of all, let's talk about why should you even consider buying a house? I actually get this question quite a lot because I think in a lot of people's mind, it just makes more sense to rent. I'm not tied down, I'm not committed to a house, I don't have to get stuck there. I mean, what happens if I lose my job? I don't want to go through a foreclosure or bankruptcy. Sounds like a lot of good reasons to just stay in my current situation. Well, first of all, and maybe one of the greatest reasons, is when you own a home, you get to enjoy appreciation. Appreciation means the difference between where you buy a house and every year how the value goes up. The difference between that starting number and where it is today. The average around the United States is 4 to 6% average appreciation per year. Here in Colorado, we average 6 to 8% over the last 40 years, and in the last 10 years, a whopping 10 to 12%. Let's put this in real life numbers. If you bought a $400,000 house today, next year that house would be worth $440,000. That means you would have earned $40,000 just by owning a house. Of course, you have to sell or liquidate that asset in order to realize all those gains, but that is a huge reason to not just be giving your monthly payment to somebody else every month. The next reason are tax benefits. There are actually a lot of tax benefits to owning a home. If you'd like to go into detail, please talk to your CPA about how this can benefit you. You have the stability of owning a house. It's actually yours. You can personalize it in any way that you want. You can change the floor plan. You can update kitchens or bathrooms, change the flooring. You can make it yours, and you can add value to it. You also have equity. Equity means every month whenever you're making your mortgage payment to the bank, part of that money is actually going into your own savings account in a sense, because the principal reduction in your mortgage payment is going to pay off your loan, so you own a little bit more of your house every single month. Your equity grows exponentially over time because your first mortgage payment, you're paying a lot more towards interest, and your last mortgage payment, you're making a very, very tiny amount towards interest. You also have the potential to turn your real estate into a rental property that can create cash flow and really provide retirement and so many future benefits for you. If you're interested in that, you can check out our Real Estate Investing 101 class. Well, if you're thinking that buying real estate might be a good idea, you should first look into finding a great team to work with. Now, I'm a total DIY person. I like to look things up. The other day, our dryer broke, and we looked up on YouTube how to fix a dryer because we thought, the dryer's already gone, so why not just give it a shot to fix it up? And less than 1 hour later, we saved ourselves from buying a new dryer. So I'm a total DIY person, and you might think, well, real estate can't be that complicated. I think I should just try to do it on my own. First of all, just the contract to write an offer on a house is over 20 pages long. A lot of it is legal jargon and understanding what are you committing to, what are you not committing to, what contingencies do you have to get out of the contract, what if you change your mind or you lose your job. Having a professional who understands the contracts and is negotiating on your benefit. A real estate agent is someone who's in the market, and if they're experienced and active in what they're doing, they're going to know how to handle objections. They're going to know how to get you the best purchase price or to help you get the repairs that you want done on a home. You also want a great lender, someone who knows all of the different financing options that are available to you. You don't just need to go on to quickenloans.com or Rocket Mortgage and fill out an online application. There may be better opportunities or options out there for you. So working with someone who's local and has your best interest in mind can help you find the best plan for you. They're also going to have connections to local services, contractors, service people, repairmen, So I would highly recommend bring a team of professionals around you when you get ready to start the process. So what does that process even look like? Well, step one, meet with a real estate professional. I think you can check that box today. Hopefully you're learning more about the process and what it looks like, what it means, and how to go about it. Step two would be to work on your pre-approval. Your pre-approval is showing a seller that you have the financing to buy this home. Unless, of course, you're paying cash, then you don't need to meet with a local lender, but that would be your next best step. We'll go into in a minute what a pre-approval looks like and how to get one. After your financing, you're going to start the process of searching for homes. Another benefit of using a real estate agent is that they have access to what is called the MLS, or the multi-listing service. The MLS is the database of homes that are for sale. All of the other websites like Zillow, Redfin, Trulia are fantastic. I have clients who love searching on those platforms. But just know that they're all pulling their information from the MLS and republishing it out to you. So in order to stay most up to date and in tune with what's happening in the market, your agent can give you access to the MLS. After you find a great house and you're ready to make an offer on it, your real estate agent will help you write up your contract. You're going to have things in there like your purchase price, your terms, how quickly you want to close, what items you might want to have addressed before you take ownership of the property. Sometimes the seller can go back and forth with you. It's called a counter proposal. So maybe you came in a little low on your offer and they're going to write up a counter. Maybe they want to try to meet a little bit closer to the middle. After everybody has agreed to terms and both parties have signed the contract, you are now considered under contract. Another term for this is pending or in escrow. Escrow is the term that you'll hear probably most commonly, especially from your lender or the title company. Whenever you're in escrow, this is the first time that you actually pull money out of your pocket. Up to this point, everything is free. Once you're under contract, the first thing you will be paying for is your earnest money. Earnest money is like a deposit. It's saying, I have good faith, I do want to move forward with purchasing this house. The earnest money amounts differ from state to state, city to city. In my area right now, it's about 1% of the purchase price. So a $400,000 house, you would have a $4,000 earnest money deposit. The earnest money is taken to a place called a title company. The title company is another third-party service provider that's going to look over all the title work of the home. They're going to make sure that there's no outstanding liens or judgments or tax bills or water bills. There's nothing that hasn't been paid that's a lien against this property. They're going to make sure you get the property free and clear and you understand what you're buying in your new home. The title company actually cashes that check, so it has to be liquid. You can't just say, yes, I have my earnest money, and they will hold it in their own bank account. If you get successfully to the day of closing, when you sign all your documents and become a homeowner, your earnest money becomes a credit towards your down payment. So if you were going to bring $10,000 of down payment on the day of closing, now you bring $6,000. If you walk away from this house for any legitimate reason, you get your earnest money back. It's if you just get cold feet or you become wishy-washy, just change your mind, willy-nilly walk away, then unfortunately the seller's going to keep your earnest money. So that money is an act of good faith to keep you committed to the contract unless there's a legitimate reason for you to walk away. The next thing you will pay for is a property inspection. Now, there's no requirements to have a property inspection, but I always recommend you get one. Property inspections can start around $350 and just go up from there to over $1,000. Depends on the size of home, the type of property, what you're going to have inspected. Most of the time, the basic inspection is going to include looking at the roof, the structure of the home, the electrical, the plumbing, all of the appliances, your furnace. They're going to make sure that everything is in operational and working order. If anything isn't working, then they're going to write up a full report to let you know this is what you might want to consider asking the seller to repair for you, or even just some good home maintenance tips for the future. If you find out there's a major concern with the house, this is one of your contingencies. You're able to walk away from the contract and get your earnest money back. The next thing that you will pay for during this part of the process is your appraisal. An appraisal is another third-party service provider that's going to come in on behalf of your lender and make sure that the property is worth what you're going to pay for it. So they don't want a repeat of what happened in 2008 of over-lending on properties. They want to make sure if you're buying a house for $400,000, it's worth at least $400,000. If the property does not appraise for your contract price, this is another opportunity for you to either renegotiate terms or legitimately walk away from the contract. After we get through those major steps in the process, your lender will be going back and forth with you, if you're using a lender, gathering more documents and information, verifying your employment. Your real estate agent will keep you up to date on all your dates and deadlines and things that you need to meet on the real estate side. And typically within 30 days, then you are walking to the closing table. That's the day that you're going to sign all your paperwork, get your keys, and become a homeowner. So let's talk a little bit about getting your pre-approval. What is a pre-approval? This is a letter from a lender stating what you can afford. Now, sometimes you're going to talk with your lender and maybe you can afford a lot more house than you actually feel comfortable with buying. You'll discuss with them your options, the best terms, and the correct purchase price for you. They're going to help you determine what you can afford and how much your all-in cost is going to be. A lot of times we think about down payment, but we don't think about some of the other costs associated with buying a house, such as your appraisal, or your inspection, or your lending fees or underwriting fees, the title work fees. So your lender is going to work with you to help you figure out, at the end of the day, when I'm getting ready to close, how much am I going to need all in? They're also going to verify to the seller that you are a qualified buyer. You're not just someone who's out there writing offers on houses you can't afford. They're going to make sure that you have the employment you say you do and the assets you say you do, so the seller will be more likely to accept your offer. Sometimes a lender will look at your income or your credit history and say, we actually need to do some repair work here to get you what you want. I have worked with clients in the past that they were both doctors. They had an incredible income and they didn't want to go through all the work up front of getting their pre-approval and having their credit pulled. They were going to wait till they found the house that they really wanted. So we waited, unfortunately, and found a house that they loved, and they went to go pull their credit and finish their pre-approval and found out they had an outstanding $5 doctor bill. Now, it's a little comical because they are doctors, but somehow this $5 bill from when they had their son was sent to the wrong mailing address, and it was showing up on their credit for over a year as a delinquent bill. Now, this impacted their credit so dramatically that they dropped several tiers below what they would have gotten in terms of interest rate, which affected their monthly payment by $300 a month. So this $5 bill had a huge impact on their credit. That's why I always recommend start the process early. Even if you think it might be 6-9 months from now that you're going to want to buy, work on getting your pre-approval. Make sure that there's nothing hidden or lingering on your reports that you might be able to get taken off. You might be able to improve your credit enough to jump to the next tier, which means you're going to be saving money every month on your mortgage payment for the exact same purchase price on a house. So how do you get a pre-approval? What documents are you going to need? Well, after you connect with a local lender, they're going to ask you to provide W-2s, pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns, your bank account details, and a record of all your debts. So if you know you're going to be starting this process sometime soon, you can start gathering all that information. They're going to have you submit it so that they can verify that you are making what you say you make and the debts you have are what you say you have. Your debts do include things like student loans, car payments, credit card payments, anything that you're making an obligated monthly payment towards. Then your lender will help you determine what loan program is best for you, what interest rate you might get, and how to set a good budget for finding a house. There are 3 things that go into your pre-qualification. They're going to look at your credit, your debt-to-income ratio, which means how much are you obligated to pay every month versus how much you make, and how much down payment or total all-in money do you have to bring to the table. This can come from not only your savings or money that you have saved up, but gift funds from family members are considered legitimate down payment funds, meaning maybe you have an aunt or an uncle or a parent or grandparent who wants to be part of your home buying experience. Their donation to you as part of the home buying process can count towards your gift funds at closing. So what all goes into a mortgage payment? What am I paying every month when I make that payment? The first thing you're paying is your principal and interest. Principal is the portion of the actual loan, and interest is the amount of interest you're paying on it every month. They also calculate in your property taxes. You have the option to not pay your property taxes as part of your mortgage payment. However, most people opt to get that calculated in. So every month, part of your payment, the lender's going to be setting aside a certain amount of money so that twice a year when your property taxes come due, they pay it for you. Then you don't have just a large bill unexpectedly, you forgot it was coming, and now you have to come up with the funds to pay for it. The next thing that goes into your mortgage payment is your homeowner's insurance. Again, sometimes you have the option to not put this in escrow. However, most people opt to do that. Homeowner's insurance can have a huge range from anywhere of maybe $500 a year all the way up to a couple $1,000s a year, depending on the property and where you live. So having a portion of that coming out every month and being held by your lender, again, may help prevent that once a year surprise when you have a big bill come due. If the property is part of an HOA or a homeowners association, your lender's going to factor that payment into your mortgage payment. Now, technically, you're going to make your HOA payments to the management company directly, but your lender wants you to know you're going to have to be paying for that. Typically, properties like townhouses or condos almost always have an HOA. Some cities have citywide HOAs, and then some neighborhoods also have their own HOAs. Those can cover for things like trash, or a pool, or a clubhouse. Sometimes they maintain the grounds or other special amenities. And then sometimes you're paying for mortgage insurance. So what is mortgage insurance exactly? Well, if you don't put 20% down on your house payment, then the lender requires something called mortgage insurance. They want to make sure that you're not going to just default and walk away from the house. So it is their insurance policy for you, basically, since you're not putting 20% down on the home. On a conventional loan, that mortgage insurance will drop off in the future once you reach that 80-20 loan balance, but you can talk with your lender about your options. Something I find just a really interesting quick fact as you're looking at sales prices of homes right now with where our interest rates are at, every $20,000 you go up in purchase price, you're only affecting your monthly payment by about $100. So sometimes a $20,000 jump in price can seem like an outstanding amount of money, but it may have a really minimal monthly effect on your payments. So there are a few common misconceptions when it comes to loans. The biggest one is that you think you need 20% for a down payment. Now, if you're in a higher market where maybe the entry-level home is $400,000, $500,000 or more, it can be really overwhelming to think about having to save up $100,000 before you buy your first house. There are actually grant and loan programs that you can get into a home for 0 money down or 3% down, 3.5% down. I actually had a client that just closed a couple months ago. He used a first-time homebuyer grant program. His total out-of-pocket cost to buy a $350,000 home was $1,000. So there are some really great financing opportunities out there for you. So don't let the idea that you need 20% down hold you back from starting the process and exploring if this could be an option for you. Another big misconception is, my credit is too bad. Well, until you talk to a lender, you don't actually know the numbers that they're looking at. Because the numbers you pull up on your quick credit report or quick credit check are different numbers sometimes than what your lender's looking at on their end in terms of financing. So let them look at it and see what kind of credit repair they can do to help you out. And then, do I really have to be at my job for 2 years? This is a really common misconception. It started with a truth. If you are self-employed or you have your own business, your own company, lenders do like to see 2 years of history in order to qualify your income. However, if you're at a W-2 salary job, you can qualify for a loan just based on an offer letter from your employer. So you may not have even started your new job yet, but if you can verify with your lender that you actually have a job and it's getting ready to start, sometimes you can get qualified on that. So what are some frequently asked questions I hear? Well, when should I buy? Should I just wait for the market to crash? I unfortunately hear this question a lot, and I wish we had a crystal ball. We could look into the future and determine exactly when would be the most opportune time to buy a home. But if you're ready, if you have the financing in place and you're ready to take that step, it's a good time to buy. I have some clients that were thinking about buying their first home 3 years ago, and he kept waiting for the market to crash, waiting. Even with coronavirus, the market did not crash. And so a home that he could have bought 3 years ago has now gone up $100,000 in value, just about pricing them out of the market. So don't wait for perfect market conditions. They don't exist. When you're ready, it's a good time to buy a house. And don't be afraid to write an offer. In the state of Colorado, and it does vary from state to state, but here in Colorado, the buyer has 13 opportunities or contingencies to change their mind, walk away from a property, and get their earnest money back. There is not a huge commitment up front. You are just taking that initial step towards becoming a homeowner. When should I get pre-qualified? Well, probably now. If you're thinking about buying a house, now is a great time to start that process and see what you can qualify for, see if you need that credit repair. It will also prevent disappointment, because you might be thinking you can afford this. In reality, it's here. So it's going to help you set some really good, realistic expectations without making you feel rushed into a decision. Most pre-approvals are good for 90 days, but they can be extended just about indefinitely by telling your lender that your income hasn't changed, employment hasn't changed, you haven't taken on any new debt obligations. How do I find the perfect house? Well, it's real estate. The perfect house doesn't exist. There are great houses that you could call home. So I recommend to my clients prioritize what's most important to you. Know what you're willing to compromise on and what are those must-haves. It must have 2 bedrooms. I could compromise on the bathroom count. I could compromise on the dining room space or the yard size. But know what you really want, those top maybe 2 or 3 things that are most important to you. The average homeowner in Denver moves every 5 years. So a lot of people get into this mindset, this is my forever home. I gotta buy the perfect one right now. I mean, what if I have 10 kids? I'm gonna need a bunch of bedrooms. Instead of just thinking, this is my stepping stone to buy into the market, and most likely, I'm gonna buy again in a few years and be moving. So what's a good fit for me today? Just start somewhere. That's the biggest thing, and get started. What about buyer's remorse? Am I gonna regret buying this house? A lot of buyers, I would say the majority of them, have some buyer's remorse at some point during the process. You're going to see something else pop up and wonder, well, what if that one's better? I might be missing out. But once you find a house that you think you could call home, commit to it, have your inspections, do your due diligence, and move into a great place to make memories and call home. Just know it's not forever. So don't be surprised if any of these things happen to you. In a competitive market, it may take multiple offers going up over asking price and making additional provisions to get your offer accepted. I have seen buyers get offers accepted way under asking price and have to write offers $50,000 over asking price. So talk to your local real estate agent about what's happening in your market so you aren't surprised if it doesn't happen right away. You may find a place you love the very first time out. This has legitimately happened with some of my clients. The first house we look at, they love. We write an offer and they buy it. And then I've had clients that we've seen over 100 houses before they find one that they actually are able to get and move into and call home. Your property inspection is likely going to reveal something about the house, so don't be surprised. I look at property inspections all the time that are close to 100 pages long because the inspector is going to take lots of pictures and detail everything that they find out about the home. So don't let that necessarily scare you away from buying the property. Even a brand new build has things that come back on their inspections, or we call them the blue tape walk, of things that might need to be addressed. Your appraisal might come in lower or higher than your contract price. If it comes in lower, that's your opportunity to renegotiate the contract. If it comes in higher, nothing happens. It's great. You just have extra equity already in the property when you buy it. Your lender might reach out to you multiple times, needing more and more documentation. They may have found something that they need you to explain and sign, and that's very common. In the state of Colorado, sellers don't have the right to terminate the contract, so we are a buyer-favored state and lots of opportunities for buyers to change their mind, but once the seller commits to the contract, they're in. And your closing date, don't be surprised if it gets delayed for any number of reasons. It's really common for something to come up at the last minute, and maybe it needs to get slid a day or two or even a week for an issue to be resolved. What are some of the most common mistakes I find home buyers making? First of all, going over budget. You get out there and you start seeing what you can afford with your budget, and it's really easy to want to just keep bumping it up a little more. And I always encourage my clients, find that top price, that number that you are comfortable with. So 6 months from now, if you're enjoying your living room, you're sitting at your dining room table, you don't look around regretting the home that you buy. Trying to DIY. Don't try to do it all yourself. Use professionals who understand the process and can guide you through it. This includes not only your realtor, but your home inspector, your lender, and contractors. Loan. Take the time to get pre-approved early. Don't wait till the last second. Use a local lender who can give you lots of options. Don't just try to stick it out and fill something out online thinking that you've got the best option at your fingertips. Find somebody who's available to make calls on nights and weekends and help you get an offer accepted. And then probably one of the biggest mistakes I see is not considering resale value. So I find clients who fall in love with the inside of a home, and even though I might warn them about the location, it's on a busy road, it backs up to industrial, they don't consider how it's going to affect them when they might sell 3 or 5 years down the road. Okay, so for those people who are local here to Denver, what are some Denver fast facts? Denver is currently, as of the end of 2020, a seller's market, and it has been for quite a while. A seller's market is considered anything under 90 days of inventory. Once there's over 90 days of inventory, it's considered a buyer's market, so there's more homes to choose from than there are buyers out there. Colorado is also a buyer-protected state, so buyers have lots of opportunities and contingencies to change their mind in a contract. We have a fantastic home buyer grant program, and I know other states do as well, so talk to a local lender about that. You could get into a home for as low as $1,000. And Denver has an average of 6% annual appreciation, and trucking along over the last 10 years at about 10 to 12%. So this is just a little chart of why buy in Denver. So you might still be unconvinced about why you should stop renting and buy your own place, but let's look at an average $400,000 home. If you buy a $400,000 house here in Denver, in 1 year, that home will have appreciated to $420,000. This is with a conservative 6% appreciation rate. You will have paid off $6,500 of your principal balance in your mortgage just by making your monthly payments. So you will have gained $30,000 in the first year just by owning a house. Doesn't include the money you put into it as part of your down payment or any fix-ups or repairs you've done. In 4 years, that house will be worth $510,000. You will have paid off $27,000 towards principal and have a huge savings account in your home of $131,000.